Hot take. Claude Code isn't a coding tool. I know it sounds crazy because it's right there in its name. For months, I've been doing something with Claude Code that isn't coding at all. I was building multi-agent systems by hand, and I started noticing patterns. The same boilerplate everywhere. And I realized Claude Code is just an agentic loop, but it's opinionated with kind of its system message, its initial instruction to do coding. But what if I could just give it different objectives? Maybe that would work. Today I'll show you where I am in this investigation, why it works, and I'll even share with you an easy way for you to try it in less than 5 minutes. Let's dive in and take a look at it. Okay, right now your mental model is Claude Code equals code. And that, of course, makes perfect sense. It's the way all of us talk about it. Obviously, it's the way they named the darn thing. And I think even they are coming to the conclusion that that's really not all. So imagine you're sitting around with meeting notes or expense reports or research notes or raw data or any of these things. And what you've been waiting for is that perfect application for somebody to write, Google to release another LM Studio feature or something that solves the problem that you have wanting to deal with this information. And you're just waiting around for that app. No need to wait. The reality is you already have the tool. Claude Code, especially for this kind of material, can do basically anything. And this is a really important factor. We're going to look into it in just a second, and hopefully you'll see what I mean by this. But stop thinking of Claude Code as just a coding system. That's the shift I want you to try to make during this video. So I want to be clear here. I've been building on this for 3 or 4 months at this point, and this is just an exploration. I do a lot of these. This one's gotten to a level of sophistication that I've actually handed it off to a couple other people, and I'm going to hand it off to you at the end of the video today. And I am not at all saying this thing is perfect and it's the answer. Really, it's one of those things that helps you kind of reframe how you think about these systems. Okay, let's walk through using my system very briefly. Let me show you what it's doing. In this Open Agents folder, I have a series of agents here. I have an output folder, 2 output folders, or 3 in fact, a source folder where things come in, and these agents are the ones that get executed when we ask for them. That's all that's going on here. Okay, these source files are just hints of things that I would like to go through and take a look at and how I might want to collect it. This is video games. It is not the actual research. It's kind of a definition to research. So let's run our researcher. So I'm going to use the history action, history research, and then I'm going to tell it about the video game's source file. So we'll just tell it that. The researcher already knows what to do. We kick it off. What happens here very briefly so that you can see it, it reads the instructions file, and inside of the instructions file, there's an indicator that says, hey, when somebody wants to do research, you're going to have to go read the researcher file. And that was one of these agents that we were looking at. Easy peasy. Now it's off and running, doing a bunch of web searches, trying to discover the research around video game history. Okay, it finished its initial research. Takes quite a bit of time. It's a very deep research system in there that it's doing. We go and take a look at the output that it created. And one of the things that you might notice when you look through here, the very first game is Pong, the very second game is Space Invaders, but some of these images, and this is defined in the research agent. The research agent is there for information. It's not necessarily there for the images themselves. So it's kind of writing out things that would make sense to put here. The Pong arcade cabinet, and it even gives search contexts here about how you might find an image that fits what they think at this moment would be good for this story. So it's not finished yet. We've got to get the image curator to come in here and fill this in with images. And that's harder than you think. So back at the system, we will come and do history images, and we will now run it through this output drafts object, and it's going to go off. And once again, you'll see it opens up and it reads the image curator. That's one of these agents. That's the image system. And what it's got to do is it's got to go validate the images, verify that they're correct, search and find them. It also wrote a tool that it uses to make sure that they're valid images and can be used in this kind of thing. So it does a whole bunch of work. This is going to take another 10 minutes. Okay, awesome. So now we have all of the images in here. And if you go into the refined version, the first one went into drafts. Now we're going into the refined one. It's just the way that the agent system is built, that it knows that it moves things along along the line as it's building up, you can see that each one of these has an actual image. And if we quickly take a look in an external viewer, you can see that these articles all have images attached to them. Okay, but we're not done. We have one more, and it's the most exciting one. Okay, so this one is, we want to build an HTML, really. Web page is HTML is just the term that we're using here. So a simple web page to represent it and be able to read the article. So I have a good prompt that goes along with it. I won't read that here, but basically it's describing kind of a theme for the application as it builds it. Let's see how that looks. Okay, and now it's finished. It's created this video games HTML file here. Let's take a look at it. So this is the reader, and I'm going to hit the arrow keys to move through it. All right, so this is Pong, 25 cents a play, 35,000 cabinets. All right, Space Invaders, 100 yen per play, 360,000 plus cabinets, 25 cents a play, 293,000 cabinets. Awesome. E.T., catastrophic flop. I love it. And so, of course, the whole write-up for each one of these things is down in here. Early Tetris, 520 million, all versions. That's awesome. So as we just move through, we can see the different games, Mortal Kombat, Doom, GoldenEye, Half-Life, oh, Halo, yep, that's good, Warcraft, Guitar Hero. Oh, it's awesome. So as you can see, this just created something kind of altogether enjoyable out of just what might have otherwise been just blog content or something like that. This created a little environment, a little application for us. Okay, it's important to say I didn't write any special software to do this. I just described what each component, or really what I call agent, needed to be able to do. And I've moved it through the process. Now I could have described those processes to kind of link together and automatically go from one step to the next, but it was easiest to describe it by saying, call this one, wait until it gets to the next point. And frankly, some of these took 20 minutes to do. So it's worth saying, maybe just leave that one alone, get it to a certain state, have it write its files, move on to the next. All right, let me show you the files themselves so that you can kind of understand how they link together. It's not terribly complicated. So the first thing we'll start with is this instructions file. Now the instructions file, without going into every gory detail, there's a link in the description where you can see a lot of this stuff if you really want to go into the bits and parts of it. But this here is kind of describing each one of these agents and where the agent file lives. The real interesting information is when you look at something like the Claude file says you have to go read the instructions MD first. It's the first thing you do. That's also written in the agents file and the Gemini file, just in case you're using some other agent system. And so the first thing they do when you ask them a question is, oh, let me go read the instructions. The instructions will tell me the different agents that I'm aware of, the research agent, the HTML agent, the data extractor, the image agent. We saw a lot of these, right? And they're saying things like, if you see create HTML, make a web page, generate HTML, convert to HTML, those are kind of the hooks that will make it consider using this agent. When it considers using that agent, it drops into the folder that it mentions here, and it says, okay, this is the HTML agent. I will go and read in the entirety. This is that progressive disclosure thing. Now, this, of course, is something Anthropic that we'll talk about in just a second has already kind of pointed at. It's one of the things that they've moved into, but I discovered this early on as well. We don't want all of this into the context right away, and this is what I was saying. Read in the small instructions file. It has enough information to point at a lot of these different agents. Then those are brought in when they need to be brought in. It's pretty straightforward. And of course, these can get very intense, so you really wouldn't want this inside of your context. And of course, another nice thing about this, the way that these instructions work is they kind of describe how agents work, how you might create them, how you use it all together. So at any time, I can come down here and create a new agent and say, hey, I'd like to create another agent for this system. I need an agent that can create tiny little Instagram posts out of a whole file. So it reads the instructions. It now knows how to create an agent, and it says it's going to create the agent definition file, update the instructions MD because it needs that there, and then create the new command file. So that's actually going to go so far as creating those slash commands. So every time my system you add a new agent, it also adds a slash command so that you can just call it. We want to be able to call these things predictably. Okay, and as you can see, it created a new agent here, the Instagram poster. So if I choose the Instagram poster and I choose the refined video game MD information, it says it's done. The post hits the scroll stopping beats. All right, All right, and there's the Instagram post. Who knows? But you get the idea. You can add any agent you want. It doesn't have to be this simplistic. It could be very complicated with explicit use of the data structures that you even have. So this is how you build your own workflow. You just keep asking for new agents. They will be progressively installed into your context window when you ask for them. Hey, if we haven't met, my name's Matt. I obviously love AI. I love tinkering with it. I love learning about it. I love really kind of run experiments on it and sharing it as much as possible. I'm trying something brand new here. I'm trying to hit 25,000 subscribers. I'm not very close, so you don't have to worry too much about this. But if I get to 25,000 by the 25th, which is, of course, Christmas, I will dress up as something and shoot a video. Not in my wheelhouse, not necessarily something I'm comfortable with, but I'm definitely interested in giving it a shot if we can really reach that number. Now, at the same time, I'll say thank you to everyone that's already subscribed. It honestly really helps the channel. Now, just what we all want. Gosh, let's get back to the video. Now, I use this process for all kinds of things. Like I was mentioning, meeting notes, data analysis. I've used it to compare candidates for things, but here's one that I use it for that I think is really a lot of fun. So get ready for a ride. I have an application that plays jingles when you load the application on a given holiday. So all I need to create new jingles from time to time, which is more complicated than it seems. January 16th, National Nothing Day, a day of fantastic, no vibe, kind of apathy. I'd like something for that. Let's do 3 jingles. Excellent. Creating a new file in January, National Nothing Day. We don't have this holiday yet, so I'm going to take this information and give it to Suno, that system that creates music. Okay, get to it, Suno. Awesome. This was a good one. Let's download this guy. Okay, here we are. Different application. This is the application that actually needs the jingle. So let's import the jingle. We have an inbox here. We drop the inbox. We drop the jingle into the inbox and we ingest the jingle. That's all we need here because this guy knows all about the inbox already. Okay, so it ingested that. It converted it from 128 to 64K, which is great. Smaller file size, but it also did a hell of a lot more. It actually goes in and creates a new theme. It had to go research that thing, figure out how to do animations for that date, new color schemes, as well as writing a new holiday into the system so that it's aware of that. Really, that whole system does quite a bit. Okay, here is the application naturally. Let me load it with that holiday. Oh, excellent. It's already telling us whatever. So it's already on the less than caring day. Let's see if we got our jingle.
Whatever number, stats, who even cares? Could check the app, but maybe later. Yeah, it's nothing day, do nothing, hey. Your views went up, okay. Shrug it off, it's fine, it's cool. Nothing matters, that's the rule.
That's kind of fantastic, right? Okay, I think it's really important for me to point out that Anthropic has released something for Claude Code called Skills. Now, Skills actually do almost everything I'm doing here more elegantly. So I am not at all advocating what I'm showing you is the way over Skills and don't use Skills. I am absolutely not saying that. But there are some trade-offs for both of them. And I kind of want to outline just a little bit of what Skills is all about so that you can understand it. Basically, Skills is everything we just described. It will create kind of a prompt file. That prompt file, only a small piece of it will be put into the context. So when you mention something that the model says, that sounds like something I have a skill for, let me go and read in that file. So it does that progressive kind of enhancement to the context as well, very elegantly. In fact, they are much more succinct in the way that they're kind of crowding things into the context window. So you'd be able to keep thousands of skills. However, this is one of the weaknesses that I see with Skills. Honestly, it's a weakness with the system that I built. I just built a way around it. And I think that Claude can do that as well. These are probabilistic, which basically means they're hints. You are putting a bunch of information down and hoping that when you mention, oh, I kind of wanted a new jingle created, that it remembers or thinks highly enough of the skill information that it has to use that skill to solve the problem. I have maybe 70% of the time seen that it does not use the skill that I have defined, and I almost always have to say, please use my insert name skill here to do X, Y, and Z. So I have to forcibly figure out how to name it, figure out what the name is, and tell it that I'm talking about a skill for it to do that. Once it knows about it, it uses it flawlessly and does it extremely well. But it works exactly the same way as we just saw. So the output is really largely the same. However, this is one of the distinctions, and it's really an important one. These skills from Claude Code are shareable. They're useful everywhere. You can put it into Claude AI, the desktop application. You can use it in the API. You can use it in Claude Code. So all of what I've built is really largely only useful in Claude Code. I have taken the exercise to simply ask Claude Code to collapse what I've built into a skill, and it has no problems doing that. So if you really want to package something up that you've built by hand, you can ask Claude itself to kind of turn that into a skill. It does that very, very well. So I want to say that what they're building, I think, is the right path. If you're interested in the stuff that I'm talking about here, take a look at skills. However, the last very, very big caveat, I have built mine so that it works with Codex, Gemini CLI, Claude Code or Cursor, VSC, anything you've got going out there. As long as that index file, or essentially the instructions that we saw, can be put into your context, it indicates where to go read things from. So really getting that injected into your memory file, wherever your memory file is, this will work. You can do the exact same thing with skills. So if you have a folder of skills in your project, but you open it up with, say, Codex, you can go to the agents file and say, take a look, go read all of my skills information from. The problem with that is it won't just read the metadata at the top, it will read everything. So this is really something that's just built for Anthropic properties at this point. That metadata idea that it'll peel the information off of the top of the skill, the way that Claude has defined skills, that doesn't happen for everyone. Everyone else will read in the whole context. All right, there's a whole bunch in that, I understand. Go read up on skills if you're interested in this. There are marketplaces for you to be able to share skills. Be careful. This is one of those things that you're pulling software from somewhere else. We don't have any way to figure out what's safe and what's not safe about software these days like this. Same thing for MCP servers. So just be careful when you pull them, interrogate them, even ask Claude or someone else to look through them and see if they're entirely safe. That's what I would advise. So I promised you that you would be able to do this yourself. And here it goes. This is going to be super fast and I think super cool. Okay, here we go. It's another one of these quick ones. I want to show you how easy it is to get started. I'm going to try to do this in under 3 minutes. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, I have created a repo out there called Open Agent System. Super simple. I'll leave the link in the notes below. There is one file in here that matters and a README. Up at the top of the README, you'll see there's even a note for agents who might read this repo that they really need to look for this file because it's the only one that matters. I will leave that to you if you want to read it, but it is an entire definition of the system that I've just been describing to you, how to create these agents, how to edit them, how they might be opinionated towards certain folders. Take this, do whatever you want with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the URL to this repo. We're going to come into Claude Code over here, and we're going to give that the URL and tell it that we want to create an agent that can manipulate images. That's basically what we're telling it here. What this will do is it's going to go out, Claude Code is going to go out and read the repo itself. Once it reads the repo, it will go, oh, okay, what I need to do is I actually need to go and read that other file. Here it is reading the raw version of that file because of that note at the top of the README. And now it says, oh, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about here. I've got the ideas. I've got what I want to do with these different agents. Let me go and start creating them. So you can see here it's saying it's going to do the folder structure, the instructions that we saw, Claude MD pointer files. So it's going to then create the slash commands. It's even going to use the ImageMagick tool scripts for operations. So it's creating its own little scripts and everything. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, it finished writing the agents. Let's take a look at what we ended up with. It has a single agent. That single agent has all of these different kinds of mechanisms to it. If you look in the tools, you can see it has a transform tool that even has a usage statement if you called it yourself. And these are the kinds of things you can do with it. All that's kind of great. And then of course, in the instructions, it mentions that there's an image transformer that can be used just as we've seen in the past. So let's get to using it. Okay, I've put 4 images in the inbox here, and let's do, I guess, a Polaroid effect on all of the images in the inbox. And there you go. So the neat thing about this, by the way, is any kind of process or any kind of function that you can imagine needing to take, you can start to write any kind of agent around it. And you can compound those together and kind of figure out how to composite your different agents into workflows that you might use. And this is just personal tooling and super easy to write. I haven't written any of this. All right, time for the embarrassment. Let's see what happens. All right. Come on. Perfect. Okay, I hope I showed you that Claude Code is definitely not a coding system. We did no real coding with it here. It really can work on any contexts that you have, that you can work locally on files or with shell commands. And really, if you think about it, that's a heck of a lot. I hope you saw something that was useful here. I'd love to hear the things that you've been doing with this. I'll share it with others if you kind of leave something in the comments saying, here's how I've been using this in a what you might consider traditional way for Claude Code or for any of these systems. Please let me know. All right. Thanks for coming along for the ride on this one, and I'll see you in the next one.